Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly BI membership, where the buzz is always about great service. It is a victory Monday for the Tennessee Titans for the first time in a little under 11 months. It has been a long time since the Titans have won a football game. It was not the usual way you see an NFL team win a football game, but the Titans got it done in one of the strangest games I have ever seen in my life. 22-21 over the Arizona Cardinals, coming back from down 21-6 in the fourth quarter. Fumbles everywhere, in one end zone, in the other end zone, and Cam Ward makes a couple plays down the stretch to get the Titans in the win column, now 1-4 on the year. We are taking your reaction all show long. I know there's going to be a lot of people out there who are excited and want to enjoy the win. There are going to be a lot of others who, realize that the Titans didn't play all that well yesterday, but they did take the win when it was given to them. We'd like to hear all of it from you. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We're going to hit all sides of this because a win is a win. You are what your record says you are, and your record now does not say you are winless. The Jets are now the only winless team left in the National Football League. But you also have to look at what happened in that game and realize that, hey, if the Titans are going to start showing progress, you're not going to win a lot of games the way they won games yesterday. So we'll get into all of it throughout the show. 2349 on the text line says it was absolutely the weirdest win that I've seen from the Titans. 100%. I told Parker yesterday that I had planned out the entire show at halftime because it was the same old stuff that we've seen from the Titans all year long. Literally the entire year, we had seen Brian Callahan making some mistakes because he, again, this isn't going to be remembered because of all the craziness from the fourth quarter, but he botched the end of half situation again, going for it on 4th and 10. And luckily, the sack from Arden Key made sure that the Titans didn't give up points on that, but they probably should have. And Cam Ward was not very good. He was 5 of 16 through the first half. Again, you have to look at that stuff, but also realize that they did make the plays down the stretch, and the Titans were able to get the win. 3337 says, we can say how much the Titans suck all day and how we were given the game and whatever, but our defense got a shutout in the second half. Probably shouldn't have. And our offense had 200 yards and 16 points in the fourth quarter. Our special teams won the game. Tighten up. That's kind of where I am too. The Titans did not play well yesterday. That was not a well-played football game from the Tennessee Titans, but they got the win. And as we saw in Denver to start the year, sometimes the other team is just going to give it to you, but you have to be able to take it, right? Like the Titans were handed a game in Denver, and they refused to take it because they kept making their own stupid mistakes. Well, guess what? The Cardinals handed you that game yesterday, and you were able to take it and get the win. So, props to the Titans. Happy for that locker room, for Brian Callahan, because you could tell how much they needed a win. And to get one, maybe that's something that can spark them again. They're playing the Raiders this week, who they just got blown out by the Colts yesterday. So maybe a chance for the Titans to string back-to-back wins together for the first time in 3 years. I doubt it, but it's possible. The Raiders aren't very good. But it's a win. It is a win. Again, Parker, we were talking about this. Like, we were ready to come in here and have the exact same conversations as we have been for the last 4 weeks of Brian Callahan making mistakes and not putting the team in the right position to succeed. I mean, even late in that game, not going for 2 after that first touchdown felt like a blunder again from Brian Callahan. And obviously it ended up being an issue because Joey Sly shanked the extra point. But Brian Callahan had his mistakes. Again, Cam Ward was 5-16 in the first half. Not all his fault. There were some drops in there, but overall was not great. But the fourth quarter, that's what people are going to remember from that game. And hopefully that leaves a good taste in their mouths heading into this week, because God, this team needed something different. They needed to get into a rhythm, and they finally did that in the fourth quarter.
First of all, good morning, Jake.
Good morning.
Good morning,
That was a
Nashville. It's a beautiful day. It's raining outside, but it feels like the sun is shining. We're talking about a Tennessee Titans win for the first time this year, and we were talking about it. Man, I was ready to come in guns a-blazing after that first half. You were telling me that you had the grid planned out.
The show was completely planned at halftime because I did not expect anything to change.
Man, and we are sitting here, we're talking about a Tennessee Titans victory. Now, there are several things that we are going to be pessimistic about, we could poke fun at, and we could criticize. But the main takeaway needs to be is this team just kept chopping away. No matter how bad things were, no matter how bad the roster is, they just kept chopping. They kept chopping the wood, and they got the win. That is the most important thing. And most importantly, the fans of this city, as someone who's lived here my entire life, the fans of this city deserve the win yesterday, and they got it. And I'm so happy to be talking about a win.
Yes, it is. We were begging for a win last week. Just like, please give us something different to talk about. Because, when the team loses and they look like they did for the first 3 quarters yesterday, you really can't change much of the conversation. All it's going to be is the team's not good enough. When's Brian Callahan going to get fired? We at least get a break from that for now, because the team did win a football game, and you have to give them credit for winning the football game, even though, I heard Robbie and Rexroad talking about this morning about all the tweets, like Ryan Fitzpatrick saying that is the worst loss he's ever seen. And he might be right. I mean, if Amani DiMercato just holds on to that ball for a millisecond longer, none of this happens. 28-6 was over. You had zero chance to come back from that. But he did drop the ball. And Cam Ward makes a couple of good throws on the next drive. You're back within 9. And then as crazy as DiMercato fumbling it at the goal line was, the interception, that may be one of the craziest plays in NFL history. Like, I know there's been a lot of plays, and I wouldn't say it's the craziest, but I was sitting there just laughing out loud at my TV because that could not have gone worse for the Cardinals. Like, they finally made a play and stopped the momentum. Like, the Titans basically had to be perfect the rest of the way to win that game. And they made Cam Ward make a mistake. It was a great deflection by the defender who jumped right in front of him and knocked it. A great catch by the DB to make the interception. I mean, those are some good hands for a defensive back to be able to pull that in. But just drops the ball. Inexplicably drops the ball. And then 3 Cardinals players just kick it into the end zone for Tyler Lockett to recover for a touchdown. I have never seen anything like that in my life. And, Ran Carthon, the ball's not round. Sometimes it doesn't bounce your way. Man, that is the ultimate example of the ball bouncing your way, because it looked like playing Madden or something like that, when for some reason your defensive players just don't want to pick up the ball and it's just bouncing around. I mean, Titans could not have gotten any more lucky on that play. And, from then on out, they made the plays necessary to win the game. And we'll talk about Brian Callahan more later, but I do want to give Brian Callahan credit, a guy who has struggled with game management and even struggled with game management yesterday. I thought he handled the timeout situation down the stretch about as well as you can. Like, in terms of clock management and putting the team in a position to go win the game as time expired, I think he did a great job calling those first 2 timeouts early, then not calling the third one, which basically forced the Cardinals to run it, because if you throw the ball, it's incomplete. Then you don't get to waste the 2-minute warning before the Titans get the ball back. So that was massive from Brian Callahan. And Cam Ward makes the throw to set up the field goal. I mean, that game was absolutely hammered. I mean, there's nothing else you can say. It's a win, but I think you could have played that game from 21-6 1,000 times, and the Titans probably lose 999. That was the Doctor Strange, the how many do we win? One. And that was it, because the ball just bounced the Titans' way down the stretch. Now, they made plays. I don't want to just say the Titans got completely lucky. They did get very lucky, but they did make the plays necessary down the stretch to go win a football game. And right now, if you're the Tennessee Titans, and again, we said it all last week, you have lost 36 of 45 games. You will take any win, whichever way it comes. don't apologize for winning the football game, even though the Cardinals handed it to you on a silver platter. Like, don't apologize for winning a football game. You don't win many football games. And the Titans, they are 1-4. They are 1-4. And you got to give them credit. They did what they had to do to put a mark in the win column for the first time in almost a year.
Yeah, and you could tell, TD tweeted this out yesterday, but you could just tell in the locker room after the way the players were talking in the post game, that was just a team that was just, they needed something. They needed something to build off of. They were starved to win. This team hadn't won a game in the last 10 games. So they really desperately needed a win, and for them to just get kicked in the teeth repeatedly for dating all the way back to last year, and for them to just keep showing up and just keep, sometimes that's all it takes. And yeah, there were a lot of mistakes, and yeah, you got lucky. I personally thought the guy who picked it off for the Cardinals was down, and the Titans may have caught a huge break.
They didn't touch him.
They didn't touch him?
No, they didn't touch him. I saw this from multiple people like, oh, the Titans got lucky that he wasn't called down. No one touched him.
When he had his knee down originally that he got touched in the back.
No one was near him.
Either way.
He did not get touched. So that was it was a break because he dropped it, but
either way, the Titans got to win. They kept showing up. That's what I'm going to keep harping on, because that part is impressive.
Right. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jeremy in Clarksville says, seriously, this was a Cardinals loss. All it was. The Titans weren't great. They got lucky. They can't depend on opponent meltdown to win. Jeremy, they won the game. Like, you take this team is in no state to be picking and choosing what games they can win. They won the football game, and that's all you can ask for. Like, yes, the Cardinals handed it to them. They completely melted down. But the Titans didn't. I mean, the Broncos melted down too. The Broncos gave the Titans every chance to win that game in week 1, and the Titans couldn't take advantage of it. They did yesterday. Again, Cardinals, they deserve the majority of the percentage blame for that comeback happening. Like, the Titans did just enough to win, but again, you can't pick and choose your wins when you've been this bad for this long. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Plenty to get to about the Titans today. We'll also touch on some college football later on in the show, but mostly Titans. When the team gets a win, we've got to stick with it. Cam Ward was bad through about 2.5 quarters yesterday, but he grew up right in front of our eyes in that fourth quarter and flipped a switch. Not saying that this is going to be exactly what we see from Cam Ward moving forward from here on out, but that was a great fourth quarter from Cam Ward. We'll talk about it coming up next and get to your phone. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on a Titans Victory Monday here on Next Man Up, 1025 The Game. That was Brian Callahan after the game yesterday talking about Cam Ward's performance. Cam was bad in the first half, 5 of 16, and there were some drops in there, but you do have to look at the drops of, was the ball placed where it needed to be? I think Alec Iamaner had one clear drop, but another one, Iamaner maybe alligator armed it a little bit, got him in the fingertips, not perfect ball placement. And then the Tyler Lockett one, yeah, it hit Tyler Lockett in the hands, but probably should have been thrown out a little further out in front instead of behind him. So Cam Ward, bad first half. They needed him late in that game to step up and lead the comeback, and he did. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game, recapping the Titans' 22-21 win. No matter how weird it was, it counts as a win for the Tennessee Titans yesterday, their first one since Thanksgiving week last year. Now, Cam Ward, I was ready to come in here and talk more about his accuracy issues, because that would be 2 weeks in a row where he had really struggled just to put the ball where it needed to be. Last week against the Texans, he missed a lot of easy throws, only threw for a little over 100 yards, was 10 of 26, and it looked like we were trending in a very similar direction early in that game. And then the fourth quarter happened, and it felt to me like that throw to Calvin Ridley, the dart he threw over the middle that Ridley caught, it ended up being almost a 50-yard gain. Like, that was what Cam Ward needed, just to see one of those completed down the field, because he hadn't had many of those through the first 4 weeks, and it felt like that got him in a little bit of a groove. Yes, he did have the interception, which, as lucky as it was for the Titans to end up with a touchdown on that play, I mean, that was Cam Ward obviously didn't think that was going to get deflected straight up in the air and was going to get intercepted. Was it a smart play? Probably not, but it was a great play by the Cardinals to get a hand on that and then make a great play on the ball. But Cam Ward grew up right in front of our eyes in yesterday's game, and he's got to do it for longer than one quarter, right? Like, we can't anoint him as the franchise quarterback for sure based on one quarter, but you saw it. That's why he was drafted number 1 overall in April. Like, you saw it yesterday. He made the throws. The throw to Ridley over the middle really sparked the offense. Was it the very next play he hit Helm, where it's like it was a little bit of a duck, but he got hit as he let it go and still muscled it right to where it needed to be for Gunnar Helm to make a play on the ball. And then, of course, the throw that set up the field goal. I mean, he couldn't have put that anywhere else. Like, it was a beautiful throw to Calvin Ridley. Again, it's one quarter. Cam Ward needs to show consistency, but you could see that he finally found a rhythm, and he made multiple pinpoint throws when he needed to, because if he didn't make all of those throws, the Titans probably don't win that game yesterday.
Yeah, and the accuracy issues in the first half, it reminded me of what I saw at Joe Milton at Tennessee, where everything is a rocket, and you got to throw a receiver, a catch-friendly football, and Cam Ward was simply not doing that in the first half. Now, the second half was a completely different story, and that 2-minute drill, as a former quarterback, it gave me goosebumps. The hair was standing up on my forearms. I'm like, that is what you want to see out of your hopeful to be franchise quarterback. And I've played the position. I know how hard it is at the collegiate level to lead a 2-minute drive, especially when you're a first-year guy. Imagine that amplified at the NFL level, and the poise that Cam Ward showed on that 2-minute drive. It was a thing of beauty, and it gives you all the confidence in the world that you drafted the right guy.
Right. To make that throw in that moment is massive. And again, the Cardinals should not have been in that position to lose that game. But guess what? The Titans got the ball back down by 2 with a chance to go win the game, and your rookie quarterback made the throw that he needed to in the moment that he needed to set up that field goal. So you got to give Cam Ward credit, while also understanding that he's got to play like that for more than just one quarter. And I feel like this is a perfect week for Cam Ward to try and build off that, right? Like, you got the Raiders coming up. You now have that feeling of what it's like when the results look good, right? Like the Broncos game, everybody came out of that, and all of the people who watched the film were saying, man, Cam Ward, like, the stats don't show how well he played yesterday. And that's all fine and good, but that doesn't give you the same feeling if you're the quarterback of confidence than when you actually go out and make the throws and it leads you to a win. And we'll see if Cam Ward can build off that this week and we can see more consistency. Because I've been saying it since the Rams game, like Cam Ward needs to do regular quarterback things more consistently. Yes, you need him to make the crazy throws every once in a while, and he's proven that he can do that. But I thought yesterday in the second half, he was taking what the defense was giving him more. Early on in that game, it might have been the second drive of the game, first drive of the game, Cam Ward was rolling out and had Chigakonkwo in the flats wide open. Now, it wasn't going to be a 15-yard gain, but it probably would have gotten you 6 on 1st and 10. And instead, he passed it up. He was looking for Alec Iamaner opening up over the middle of the field. He didn't. He had to scramble, and he got like a yard. You got to take what the defense is giving to you. And I think he did that down the stretch. Like, he had a couple of plays where he knew you needed 3 yards. He got you 3 yards. He checked it down to Pollard a couple times on that 2-minute drill. He found Gunnar Helm for a first down. He found Chig for a first down. And then when you needed the big throw, he made it to Calvin Ridley. I think we saw what you hope Cam Ward can become in that 2-minute drill yesterday against the Cardinals. You got to see it more consistently, but that is what you need from your rookie quarterback. And that was what you saw when you drafted him first overall. Really encouraged by the finish to that game from Cam Ward. Obviously, the whole day wasn't good enough, and he's got to do that for a full game coming up against the Raiders, but really encouraged with what I saw from Cam Ward. Let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Trey is on the line. Trey, thanks for calling. What are your thoughts on the game yesterday?
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Doing well. How are you, Trey?
My thoughts of it is that, you know, I would have liked to see more of like systematic drives going down the field where actually, you know, he set up plays in the red zone, getting a few touchdowns in the red zones that way. I'm not too keen on the improv stuff that he does. Yeah, it looks good. We won yesterday. It's great that we won yesterday. But how many games he's going to be able to go out and win that way? I'm not knocking him. I think he did great. But that improv thing, I don't like. And I need to see more of a system going forward. And y'all have a good day. Thank y'all.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Trey. I mean, he is correct. You're not going to win many games that way. I don't know if you'll win any other games that way because that was one of the strangest games I've ever seen. But Cam Ward did move the ball down pretty systematically over the last 3 drives. Yes, he threw the interception, and that's obviously a point you have to make in this game, that he did throw the back-breaking interception. It was deflected. It's not like he threw it right to the DB, but he did throw the pick that should have lost them the game. They got lucky that the DB fell down, fumbled it, and it ended up in the end zone for a touchdown. So, yeah, that has to be mentioned in this. But outside of that throw, that fourth quarter was about as good as you could ask for from your rookie quarterback. And again, it's one quarter. Like, the first 3 quarters weren't good enough. The third quarter, I thought he did a better job of not trying to force things and playing within the offense, but the Titans just kept running routes short of the sticks. Like, they got into 3 straight 4th and shorts, and they punted every time. But it was basically just because they kept throwing the ball short of the sticks, and they couldn't get the first down. So the third quarter, I thought he was fine. They couldn't move the football. The fourth quarter, I think that's about as good as you can ask your rookie quarterback to be outside of the interception. And he made some plays. And that, you need to see it on a more consistent basis. But I really liked what we saw from Cam Ward down the stretch. Now, can he put that into practice and do that all game long against the Raiders? He's not going to be perfect. He's still a rookie. But you need to see that rhythm. And that he just looked like he was in that flow state as a quarterback at the end that we haven't seen from him. It kind of felt like he was overthinking a lot of the things early on. It looked like he was just out there ripping it at the end of that game, and that's huge for Cam Ward.
And the mental fortitude that it takes to get yourself out of the hole, because he was struggling. He was struggling really bad, and he had kind of been getting worse and worse by the week in terms of his accuracy. But to be able to mentally get yourself out of that hole and lead a 2-minute drive. That's the thing that we've been talking about with Cam Ward, especially when he was coming out of college at Miami. The short-term memory, the poise, the even keel mentality of not getting too high, not getting too low, because things were really low at one point. But to be able to dig himself out of that hole and thus dig the team out of a hole, because it all starts with the quarterback. And he did that. And that's very encouraging to see. If you're a fan, if you're a coach, if you're the front office, that's exactly what you want to see.
Right. All we had been talking about for the last couple of weeks is like, man, it's kind of looking worse every week for Cam Ward. Like the Broncos game, I thought was maybe his best game. And then you slowly were just seeing less of the good, more of the bad. He finally flipped the switch. And again, it can't just be that quarter and you go back to being 5 of 16 in a half of football for 58 yards or whatever he was at halftime. But he figured it out. And you hope that's a flip of the switch for good. Again, he's not going to be perfect, but you hope that is more of what we see from Cam Ward instead of just a flash in the pan for one quarter in what was just a wild game in Arizona yesterday. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll continue to take your texts and calls. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Lots of texts. We'll get to some coming up next. Mondays were made for Macero. Big screens, bold flavors, and all the football action from queso to kickoffs. This is how Macero does game night. Macero Football Mondays in 12 South. Don't miss a snap. More on Cam Ward coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. TVD with Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingen will be broadcasting live at the all-new Circa Sportsbook Kentucky in the Mint Gaming Hall today prior to the Monday Night Football game. Head up there and watch the Chiefs-Jaguars game, plus ask about Circa's giveaway of a trip to Las Vegas for this week's Titans and Raiders game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game, recapping a Titans win for the first time this season, for the first time in a long time, 22-21 over the Arizona Cardinals. It was not pretty, but it's a win, and the Titans will take it. They'll look to build on that against the Raiders coming up on Sunday in Las Vegas. Cam Ward, again, overall, if you look at the total body of work in that game, was not good enough. And he missed a couple of throws. We haven't talked about the deep shots to Chimdike, which I love that they called. I've been asking for it for a while with TD this week. We were talking about it like, hey, Chimdike has 5 catches for 1 yard this season. Like, can we get him down the field, show off the speed? And they took 2 shots to him in the second quarter, and Cam Ward missed him both times, overshot him on both throws. And again, that it wasn't good enough for Cam Ward through the first 2.5, 3 quarters of this game. But man, when they finally got that spark, when DeMarcado dropped that football before going into the end zone, it felt like the Titans said, you know what? This is our opportunity. They just gave us a massive break to stay in this game. Let's go take it. And they did. Again, it took some more luck. We also haven't mentioned that Kyler Murray took a snap off his face mask that ended up being a fumble on the edge of the red zone too. Like, every bounce that needed to go the Titans' way to win that game did. But Cam Ward also made the throws necessary in the final couple of minutes to win that football game. I mean, that throw down to Calvin Ridley to set up the field goal, like, that is why you take the quarterback number 1 overall. And I've been seeing plenty of people out there this week and even during the game yesterday saying, oh, you should have taken the Giants picks. You should have taken the trade with the Giants. But guess what? Eventually, you have to take a shot on a quarterback that you believe can be the franchise guy, because you are not going to win playoff games in the AFC with just a guy playing quarterback. It's just not going to happen. You cannot sign Daniel Jones off the street. Like, I'm sorry, I know the Colts have the best record in the AFC right now, but when they get to the playoffs, because I do think the Colts end up winning the division based on what we've seen so far, although the Texans looked good yesterday, they blew out the Cooper Rush-led Baltimore Ravens. When the Colts get to the playoffs and they have to face, let's say they're the 4 seed, they have to face Lamar Jackson, because I think the Ravens end up making a run, get a wild card spot. Let's say they face Lamar Jackson in the first round, then Josh Allen in the divisional round, and Patrick Mahomes in the championship game. Do you think Daniel Jones, no matter how good the team is around him, is going to outduel those 3 guys in 3 consecutive weeks to go to the Super Bowl? No. At least I don't. You need a guy who can stack up with the top tier quarterbacks in the AFC. And you felt like you had a chance to take that guy at number 1, you take him. And I know it hasn't looked good enough for Cam Ward overall this year. Like, he has not come in and lit the world on fire. But yesterday, you saw why you take that guy number 1 overall. He was clutch. He made some big-time throws and set you up to win the football game. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. And should he have won the game? Absolutely not. But he did. He made the throws. He set you up. Joey Sly almost missed the field goal. But you won the football game pretty much because of your young quarterback in those final minutes. Like, you got all the breaks to get you to that 21-19 drive with 2 minutes left to go win the game. And your young quarterback won you the football game. Right. I get it. It's just 1 quarter, but that's why you take the quarterback number 1 overall, and you don't trade for some future prospect of who might be in next year's quarterback class, because as we've seen, the quarterbacks coming out next year aren't very good.
You took the words right out of my mouth. We've been watching these guys. Cade Klubnik was talked about a lot. You sure you want to take a chance on Cade Klubnik right now? Garrett Nussmeier? Not really. Sam Levitt?
How is the savior Arch Manning doing?
Exactly. So when you're sold on a guy, you take him. And from what I've seen off of Cam Ward early, I believe that this guy will be the franchise quarterback. Now it's early, but the early returns, at least from what I've seen on tape and film, I believe this guy is going to be the future. However, we often don't know how good a quarterback is until the proper pieces are in place, or at least most of them. For just from being around the building, I can tell you with full confidence, there are some pieces in place that will benefit Cam in the long run, but the proper pieces are not in place. So we still have to see how that plays itself out.
Right. I don't think Cam Ward is going to just go on a run now and become an elite quarterback just from that game. Like, it's still going to be a bumpy road. But we saw yesterday that he has the ability, when you need him the most, to make the throws to win the game. Like, Doug from Nashville on our text line says the Cardinals set them up, not Cam. Yeah, the Cardinals gave them every opportunity to come back in that game, but you still have to go win the game.
Yeah, but who capitalized on the
Right.
mistakes?
It's like,
sure, like, yeah, they fumbled the game away, but who capitalized on it?
right. Last year in the Bears game, where Will Levis handed the game to the Bears. They got the ball back with a chance to go win it or go tie it. It was 24-17, and he threw a pick. I believe it was the Colts game a couple weeks later where they got the ball back with a chance to go tie or win the game, and he went 3 and out with 3 straight incompletions. Cam Ward, despite everything that happened before that, you still needed him to go lead a drive from your own 20 to get into field goal range and go win that football game, and he did it. Am I saying that makes Cam Ward the MVP? Absolutely not. But I think you have to look at that and say, that is why they took him number 1. And if you start to see that on a more consistent basis of him taking what the defense gives him and then taking his shots when he can and being selective, but hitting those throws, you've got yourself something special. And it's one game, but we finally saw it, right? Like, we finally saw the results come through for Cam Ward. He's made plenty of good throws this year. He's made plenty of bad throws, but he came through in the final 2 minutes when you had a chance to go win the game, and you got to give him credit for that. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. The Blue Raiders will take on Missouri State this Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Catch all of the action on Totally Hits 93.3, with coverage also available on the Totally Hits Nashville app and at totallyhitsnashville.com. Couple more thoughts on Cam Ward. We also need to talk about Brian Callahan, because as great as it is to see a win, he still had his struggles yesterday. And I do want to give credit to the offensive line. We'll do all of that coming up throughout the show. But a couple more thoughts on Cam Ward, Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. That was Brian Callahan yesterday after the game talking about the 2-minute drill that led to a Titans victory, 22-21 over the Arizona Cardinals in Glendale yesterday. Titans now 1-4. They've won their first game in 11 tries dating back to November of last year. A much-needed win. All the reports coming from Arizona were the Titans locker room celebration was loud. It was energetic. They needed that win. And you could see it during the game that team wanted that game bad. The Cardinals gave it to them. They did. Like the Cardinals, all they needed was one of those plays that was just absolutely ridiculous and went against them to go for them. Like Kyler Murray doesn't take a snap off his face mask that leads to a turnover when you're already in field goal range. The Titans don't win that game. If DeMarcado just holds on to the ball and crosses the goal line, the Titans don't win that game. If your defensive back doesn't roll over on the football and lose it, and it ends up pinballing off of 3 of your other players' feet into the end zone for Tyler Lockett to score a touchdown, the Titans don't win that game. But all of those things happen, and the Titans are in the win column. Again, I said it off the top of the show. The Titans are in no position to apologize for the way that they win football games. They need to just win football games, and they did that yesterday. Cam Ward, despite a slow start, and, you look at, he played 3 halves of football, 6 quarters of football, and was, 15 of 42 for like 150 yards over the last game and a half before the third quarter against Arizona yesterday. It was bad, and Cam Ward was looking inaccurate, but we saw the rhythm start to come about when he hit Calvin Ridley for that deep ball over the middle. That was the play that I think really sparked it for Cam Ward, but we have to see it continue. This is a game coming up this week against another bad team. The Las Vegas Raiders are 1-4 as well. They just got blown out by the Colts. What was the final of that game? Like 41-10?
I think it was 40-6.
Yeah. Horrible. And the Colts have obviously 40-6. The Colts scored 20 in the second and 20 in the third. The Colts obviously are better than we all expected them to be this year. We saw it firsthand in Nissan Stadium a couple of weeks ago. But this is a Raiders team that is more than beatable for the Titans. The Titans can go in there and win that game. Now, you can't play the way you did for 43 minutes or whatever it was, maybe even more than that, because the DeMarcado touchdown would have come with 13 minutes left in the game. I mean, the way that game flipped on its head from that fumble on was unbelievable. And the Titans had no business being in that game, but they still won it. Now you've got to go play 4 quarters the way you played that last one, because not only was Cam Ward really good in the fourth quarter, the defense stepped up in the fourth quarter. Like the Cardinals just needed one more first down to ice that game away. And the Titans defense, which has struggled with tackling at times this year, they got him down, they forced the punt, and they let Cam Ward go win the game for him. And I don't know if that's a sign of things to come. I don't know if it's a fluke, but that team looked like a team that can actually play at the NFL level down the stretch, which they hadn't looked like that for a long time. It's been so bad around here for so long. The Titans finally get a win. And as much as Cam Ward has struggled so far this year, I just want to give him credit for the way that he played down the stretch. Cody on the YouTube chat says, before that fourth quarter comeback, the Titans needed to sit Cam Ward. I'm not quite on that train yet. He says his footwork was bad decision-making, held the ball too long, which is true. He was playing the same way he has for the last couple of weeks when we've said that he has not been good enough. Is that fourth quarter what he's going to be moving forward, or was it just a flash in the pan? I think that's what we're going to find out on Sunday against Las Vegas. Can he build on that and have a more consistent game against the Raiders? Can you have a game where you're not talking about Cam Ward having like a 35% completion percentage at some point? Because we really haven't had that much throughout this year. He needs to build off that and have a full game against Las Vegas. And if the Titans win that game, then you start to feel better about the progress that this team is making overall.
Absolutely. I think the trajectory of this team is, a lot of it is determined on how good Cam Ward does. So I see him, he did this in college, going back to his days at Incarnate Word. just continue to build off of the things that went well. Having that short-term memory, kind of you left the game with a good taste in your mouth. Now, how can you build off of that next week? You still have one more home game against the one more road game in this 3-game road game stretch. How can you build off of that heading into a home game versus Mike Vrabel when he returns to town?
Yeah, and Mike Vrabel's Patriots getting a big win, ending the last unbeaten season. So I get did the 72 Dolphins pop their champagne last night? They got a couple of the Eagles had no business losing that game yesterday. It was 17-3, and they ended up losing 21-17 at home.
Yeah, and how many did 18 unanswered for the Broncos?
Yeah, it was 21-17 was the final. So the Broncos come back and get that win. No more undefeated teams, and the Titans avoided being one of 2 winless teams left. The Jets are 0-5. We had the conversation 6 days ago about who is the worst winless team. Well, the Titans are no longer in that conversation. It is just the New York Jets, Jets. The Titans, again, we're going to find out on Sunday whether this is a spark for this team because everything that we've seen about Brian Callahan's job status is he needs to show progress. One win doesn't show progress. But if you can show that, hey, we didn't have some things go our way early on, we finally got the bounces that we needed, and we went out and won a football game, and we can build off of that next week in Las Vegas. Or does it go back to what we saw through the first 45 minutes of that game, where your defense was getting gashed, your offense couldn't move the football, and your kicker couldn't make field goals or extra points? Like, do we go back to that? Or do we see the team that came back and rose from the ashes to get a win? This is an important game for Brian Callahan, for Cam Ward, for this team coming up on Sunday. You're facing a bad team coming off an emotional win. Go and beat the Raiders. Like, that is for Brian Callahan. I think he still has a long way to go to save his job, and we'll get into that more here in the second hour. But this might be a must-win game for him to start digging himself out of the hole that he's in, because it's a deep hole. Yesterday's win doesn't change that Brian Callahan likely is not the head coach of this team in 2026. But if you can get some momentum going and you beat the Raiders on Sunday, who knows if maybe that starts to get him a little bit closer to where you could conceivably see him sticking around. I doubt it, but a win on Sunday at least is a step in the right direction.
I'd argue every game's a must-win at this point. Yesterday does nothing but put a Band-Aid on it.
Right.
Okay?
No, yesterday, and we're gonna talk about Brian Callahan coming up next, but like, yesterday does not change my thoughts about what Brian Callahan's job status is moving forward. But it is something that could get this team having some good feelings. Like we talked with TD last week. You need to see the ball go through the net. They saw one go down. It might have been a half court behind the back shot that just randomly bounced off enough things and bounced in, but they saw one go through the net. And maybe that's enough to get them on a little bit of a winning streak of 2 games. Hasn't happened here since November of 2022.
Feels like an eternity ago.
The last time the Titans won back-to-back games was beating the Broncos at home. I believe that was like November 13th of 2022. And then they beat the Packers 4 days later in Lambeau. That is the last time the Titans won back-to-back games. Go win back-to-back games. Like, you have to do that. You have to be able to put together, like, you got lucky to win that game yesterday, but you are facing a team that might be just as bad as you on Sunday. And that's hard to do.
I think this win yesterday started a new timeline for the Titans. Are you going to win back-to-back games for the first time since 2022? Are you going to respond? Or are you going to go back and revert to the old style of which you're used to playing? Brian Callahan's a dead man walking, and this team is under an incredible amount of fire. How are you going to bottle that up and go out and prove that us media who we're talking about are wrong? So I think this win yesterday started a new timeline for the team in the Brian Callahan era. That
is the big question this week was yesterday just a game that you got lucky to win? Or was it a spark that you can build off of to show some progress? And we're going to find out on Sunday. Because again, if you're right, if they revert back to what we've seen through the first month of the season, Brian Callahan is still not long for this job. But you at least have the confidence that you have won a football game. Can you build on that and go win another? We'll see on Sunday. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Titans win 22-21 in one of the strangest games that you will ever see across the National Football League. The Titans were handed that game, but again, you got to give them credit for taking it because they've had plenty of games that they've been given over this horrible 3-year stretch. A lot of times they don't take it when the other team tries to give it to them. They did yesterday and won 22-21. Brian Callahan got the win. But there was still plenty that went wrong for Brian Callahan yesterday. Is this enough to start digging him out of that hole? We'll dive deeper into that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you again on a Titans Victory Monday. As weird as it happened, enjoy it, Titans fans. It's a win. You don't get many of those around here. 615-737-1025. Preds fan, Smashville Live returns tomorrow night at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs at 6 p.m. See your Predators star players up close and personal and also get autographs and pictures. Tomorrow's Preds player guests will be Nick Hague and Nick Perbix. That's tomorrow night at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs and on 102.5 The Game. Hour number 1 in the books. We'll be back right after this. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Second hour, next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. It's a Titans victory Monday. First one of the year, 22-21, the win over the Arizona Cardinals yesterday. Doesn't matter, there are no pictures in the box scores. There's no pictures in the standings. It was a crazy win, but it counts all the same. Titans are 1-4 now on the year, snapping a 10-game losing streak. For Brian Callahan, you could see just watching that game how much he and that team needed it. Like they had the camera shot on Cam Ward after the interception fumble that Tyler Lockett recovered in the end zone. And you could see the emotion from Cam Ward, seeing the craziness that ensued to get them in the end zone. But Brian Callahan is running down the field with both arms raised like he just won the lottery. I mean, you could see how much he needed that win, and the emotions after the field goal went through, hugs to everybody. Like, I understand. It's a week 5 win when you were already 0-4 and the Cardinals handed it to you with 3 of the stupidest fumbles that you'll ever see in your life. Like, you do not get that lucky all the time. But just to see one go down, you could tell how much they needed it. But for Brian Callahan, as happy as I am to see him get the win, because it has to be tough for that guy when it's like, man, he's trying. He's doing what he can to try and make this, get this team in the win column, and nothing seems to be working. And he keeps making mistakes, and everybody's calling for his job. I'm happy for him that he got the win, but the win is kind of overshadowing some more just boneheaded decisions by Brian Callahan. Like, I was ready to spend 30 minutes again on the end of the first half sequence, and it didn't end up costing them points like it had against Denver and Indianapolis. But why are you going for it on 4th and 10 there on your own? What, they were they were on the Cardinals like 45, so just out of field goal range. But what's more likely? This offense that couldn't complete a pass all day? I mean, Cam Ward was 5 of 16 at that point, and I think they were like 1 for 5 on third downs. What was more likely, that they were going to convert a 4th and 10 or Joey Sly is going to hit a 62-yard field goal? Both are very unlikely. I would have kicked it, or I would have punted it and just say, you know what? If the Cardinals are going to get more points here before the half, it was 21-6. It's still a 2-score game at that point. Make them go the length of the field, or at least give yourself a shot at points with Joey Sly. But going for it with an offense that had shown you absolutely nothing all day made zero sense. Cam Ward got sacked, and you end up giving the Cardinals a chance at 3 points there. Luckily, Arden Key was able to get a sack and change it. But still, Brian Callahan, that's now 3 out of 5 games this year that I think he has just made a horrible decision at the end of the half that either has cost the team points or should have cost the team points. And you can't just ignore that just because some crazy stuff ensued at the end of that game and you ended up winning. Like, you can't just completely look past that.
Not at all. And that's why I say this win doesn't change much in terms of the fate of Brian Callahan. You're going to have to stack wins, and you're going to have to play every game like your hair's on fire in order to keep your job. And we have to see continued progress like we saw from Cam Ward. We have to see that for more than just a quarter. We have to see that for entirety of games from here on out moving forward if you want to keep your job. This doesn't change much. Again, this is a Band-Aid that covers up the rest that went wrong previously, and you caught a couple breaks here and there. Now we're getting into the pessimistic side of what happened yesterday. But Brian Callahan has to stack these performances if he wants to keep his job.
Yeah, I mean, I want to give them all the credit in the world for winning the game yesterday, because even when the other team just gifts it to you, this team has not proven that they can win any kind of football game. So again, I'm happy for Brian Callahan, because I know this must be tough for him the way this season has started after everything this offseason of trying to turn things around, to go 0-4 and basically have the fan base blaming half of those losses on you personally. Like, it's tough. And I feel for him. I'm glad he got the win. But there was a whole lot that went on yesterday that Brian Callahan could have done a lot better with. Kevin from Greenbrier says, I'm happy for Cam Ward. That's who needed to win. Brian ain't going to be here next year. And you're probably right. Like, if you're looking for long-term hope for this team, don't look at Brian Callahan. Look at the throws you saw your young quarterback make yesterday. That's what should give you hope. But the win for Brian Callahan at least keeps his job for right now, because honestly, I am not convinced that if Emari Demercado holds on to that football for half a second longer, that Brian Callahan doesn't get fired this morning. Like, I really am not 100% convinced that he would have kept his job if they lose that game by 20 points like they were on track to, right? Like, if he scores that touchdown, it's 28-6. Even if Cam Ward goes down the field and leads one touchdown drive, I really find it hard to believe that he's going to lead 3 scoring drives and get you back in that game down 28-6. I really don't know if Brian Callahan is around after yesterday's game if Demercado just holds on to the football there. But he didn't. And we're talking about a win today. And obviously you're not firing Brian Callahan after a win. So he has at least survived another week. But there was a lot yesterday from Brian Callahan that was just not good. Not going for 2 after that first touchdown, I really don't know what the thought process is there. I guess it's keep us within 1 score as long as possible, but you have to go for 2 at some point. And if you go for 2 the first time and don't get it, which guess what? That's exactly where you ended up anyway, right? Like you missed the extra point. So it's still 21-12. You're down 2 scores. At least if you go for 2, you know what you need the rest of the way, right? Like, you can manage your drives in a way of like, all right, we didn't get the 2. We have to score twice. Let's go down the field and score quickly because we have to get the ball back again. Or, hey, we're only down 7. We can take our time here and go and try and send this game to overtime. But by not going for 2, you put yourself in that no man's land of 8 where it's like, all right, we got to score. If we get the 2 points there, then we're tied. If not, we got to get the ball back. Like, I would have loved to see them go for 2. It felt like that was the universal consensus on Twitter and on X, excuse me. But he went for the extra point. They shanked it anyway. It ended up working out. But there were a couple of decisions from Brian Callahan that still made my head spin yesterday because I didn't know what he was thinking.
You've heard me talk about this before, about how coaches sometimes hide behind this analytical wall. Well, what do the analytics say? Well, here's what I say to this. There's a thing called feel in football, and you have to rely sometimes on your gut. Now, sometimes you can rely on analytics. I'm not against them. Sometimes you do have to rely on them, but there's also a thing that's oftentimes more powerful, and that is gut feel. What you feel in the game. Brian Callahan's been around the game his whole life. He should know, he should have an idea on what he wants to do with most things based on how he feels. And I'm trying to think of a PG way to say this because this is a kid-friendly show, but you know how he was talking about you see what type of metal these guys have. Sometimes you got to let that metal hang. If you
I get what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, the going for 2, it ended up not mattering again because you missed it. But like, I would have gone for 2 there. I also question in the third quarter, you had multiple 4th and shorts, and you decided not to go for it when you did go for it at the end of the first half. Like, I'm just pointing all these out that, hey, Brian Callahan, the win is going to cover up a lot of this thing because, again, it's like you win the game, you're going to get credit for the win. And I am, again, giving Brian Callahan credit because it has not been easy to win a football game around here. But, again, I'm just pointing out, like, I don't know if he is around today if they lose that game. Because, again, there were a lot of questionable decisions, and you were about to go down by 22 if Demercado didn't fumble that football. I mean, I'm trying to toe the line here of, like, giving him credit while also pointing out that, like, it wasn't a great performance by Brian Callahan again yesterday. do want to give credit. I thought the play calling was pretty good yesterday for the most part. Like, I thought Bo Hardigree looked like he had a better feel for the game in week 2, which is expected. You know, he got a week under his belt. I did think that the play calling was better from Bo Hardigree. But overall, with Callahan, it's like, hey, you gave up play calling. I don't know if that was your decision or if somebody told you to, but you gave up play calling so you could be better at the big picture stuff. And we're still seeing issues with the big picture stuff. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 3337 says, why are we bitching about a win after 11 months without one? I understand. I'm trying to toe the line here of giving them credit for winning the game while also understanding, like, if you look under the hood of that one, it wasn't great from pretty much anybody until the final 5 minutes where they made the plays necessary to go get the win. Again, I said it. They don't put pictures in the standings. You are 1-4. It was a win. We're going to give them credit for the win. But Brian Callahan still wasn't good enough yesterday. And I'm just asking the question of, like, if DeMarcado crosses the goal line with the ball in hand, I don't know if Brian Callahan's around for this weekend's game against Vegas.
How dare us? You know, we did celebrate the win. That's what the entire first hour was about.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean all is good again and we're, in Candyland. Like, we gotta analyze this stuff.
Well, it's funny. I heard Robbie and Rexro talking this morning on the way in. I knew this was kind of what the reaction was going to be. You get some people saying, why can't you let us enjoy the win? And you get others saying, how can you enjoy the win when it happened the way it did? You gotta look at it from both sides. Be happy that you got to win, because again, wins have not come easy around here for anybody. But it's, you also have to look and say that is not a sustainable way to win games. Like, you could play that game 1,000 times from 21-6, and you probably only win it once. That was the way that you win that game. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Let's go to our phone lines quickly. Gloria is on the line wanting to talk Titans. Gloria, thanks for calling. What you got for us today?
Y'all make me sick. They win a game and y'all still find everything wrong with them. The team sucks. The owner sucks. The coach sucks. Everybody sucks. Thank you.
Thank you for the call. I mean, clearly people didn't listen to the whole first hour.
They didn't. They're showing they didn't.
Well, I mean, the whole first hour, we were literally saying that like Cam Ward, the spark, that could be what you wanted from the franchise quarterback to get you back out there. But it's like, hey, Callahan he did not coach well yesterday. The team did play for him, and we'll talk about that coming up next. But, it's so hard with the way this fan base is right now to talk about these games, because so many people want to just be down on the team no matter what. Like, you got to give them credit. They won the game yesterday. But you also can't just say, like, oh, they won the game, nothing went wrong. Like, there was a lot that went wrong yesterday. You should have lost that game.
It's like if I go out and I commit a crime and I apologize about it. Okay, like, that's great. Like, I apologize, but that doesn't mean that there's not,
right,
consequences for my action.
It's like, just because they won doesn't erase everything else that happened in that game. All the credit for winning, but again, there was a lot of wrong that led to them. They should have been down 28-6 with 13 minutes left in the game. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll continue to take your thoughts on our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Hang with the Titans fans, including the crew from 1025 The Game at Overhang Bar at Circa in Las Vegas. Drink specials are included, plus giveaways, including 2 tickets to the Titans-Raiders game. Go to circalasvegas.com for more information. The Titans, as much as Brian Callahan, I think, had some issues yesterday, I would like to look at the way the team played for him, because they did fight yesterday. We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Monday morning. Next man up here on 1025 The Game. That was Brian Callahan after the game yesterday, talking about how that win can help with confidence moving forward. And the Titans were able to get a win, 22-21, and they ended up pulling it off to get to 1-4 on the year. Despite all of the craziness that happened, the Cardinals with 3 of the most inexplicable fumbles that you could possibly ask for, but the Titans took advantage. You got to give them credit for it, even though the team was barreling down the tracks to another embarrassing win before that fumble that would have made it 28-6 from Amari DiMercato. I did want to point out with Brian Callahan that you could see the joy from this team, and you could see how bad they wanted that win on the sidelines. When they finally made it, you could see the explosion from that team. Like, Brian Callahan has had plenty of issues, and we just went through some of them from yesterday, but it is very clear that that locker room has not quit on their coach, right? Like, it was very clear they wanted to win that game for, maybe not for Brian Callahan. I'm sure they all want it for themselves too, but Brian Callahan clearly is still in charge of that locker room, and they haven't quit on him. There's been lots of talk about, man, do the players lose confidence in Brian Callahan after some of the mistakes that he's made? We had elbow gate in week 1, where it's like, did he know the rules or not? And the end of half sequences. But I could clearly see the emotion on those players' faces that they wanted that one bad for their head coach, for themselves. And it's not everything. Like, right? Like, you need your players to go execute. You as a coach have to make the right decisions in the right moments. But you could clearly see that that team wanted to win for their head coach. And you listen to the locker room speech post-game. Those guys were locked in. Like, I do think that is an important aspect to this, that, hey, there isn't any lack of confidence in their head coach, despite what's happened through the first month of the season.
When it would be so easy too. And I've openly admitted that I would have lost faith in the coaching staff because they would keep putting me in situations where I can't get the most out of the play call or don't have a chance to be successful. But credit to them. And one of the keys to success is just to keep showing up. And the Titans have done that. And they just kept chopping the wood yesterday, like I said to begin the show. And eventually they ended up getting the win. Now, was it a pretty win? No, it was really ugly. But they got the win.
Yeah, it's been horrible for the better part of 3 years. So you celebrate the wins, but like, man, that was one way to win a game that I don't think I've ever seen before and may not ever see again. 3337 says, I think the problem is everyone's been bitching about how much we suck for years. And as we as fans are happy to get a win, you turn on the radio and it's just more Titan suck. It's depressing. At least be happy for a day. Well, this is the point we're making, is like, we're trying to do both. Like, we're giving all the credit in the world for the Titans for winning that game, but you can't just ignore the bad things that happen in that game. Just like in a loss, you can't ignore the good things that happen in a game. It's not just black and white. It's always a gray area. There's not all bad from every single game. It's not all good from every single win. Like, it's the Titans, they got a win yesterday, but you have to look back and say, yeah, they should have been down 28-6 with almost no signs of life, with about 13 minutes left in the game. Like, you can't just completely ignore that.
This is the thing that's getting on my nerves about this fan base. And it's just a small minority. It's not the whole fan base.
Right.
Tom Brady was the greatest quarterback to ever play the game, but he was never satisfied. He always kept finding things, little tweaks to his motion, little tweaks to his footwork, his diet, his exercise. He kept trying to always get better. Yes, the Titans won a game. That's awesome. But do you want them to stay stagnant? Do you want them to go back to their old ways? Or do you want them to get better?
Right.
That's all we're trying to point out.
I mean, look back at the Netflix special last year with Joe Burrow here in Nashville. Like, they won that game, and it wasn't really all that close. Like, they won that game by 2 scores. And Joe Burrow looked like, they had lost by 30 sitting on the bench. And Zach Taylor has to come over and tell him, like, hey, we won the game. You got to enjoy the wins. For sure. Enjoy the wins. And I'm really happy to hear that the Titans celebrated that win hard, because every win is tough to get in the NFL. And yes, you were given a chance to get back into that game, and you took it. You took it. And all credit to the Titans for making the plays necessary down the stretch. But again, that doesn't completely erase, like Wes in Clarksville says, the play calling at the end of the second quarter was terrible. Yeah, like, there were bad decisions that were made in that game. You ended up getting away with it, but you have to see those things get better if this team is going to be a better team overall. One win isn't, I mean, it's not enough to save his job, and it's not enough to make you feel good about this team moving forward. They've got to start to string those together and play more like they did in the final 10 minutes of that game than they did through the first 50. Because if they come out against Vegas this week and they play exactly like they did against the Texans or the first 3 quarters of that game, you're not going to beat the Raiders no matter how bad the Raiders are, right? Like, this is the NFL. You got to show up every week. If you can play like you did in those final 10 minutes and you get that Cam Ward, who looked like he was in rhythm and he was making all the throws, like that is what you need if you're going to go win football games. But if you get the Cam Ward, who is 5 of 16 throwing the football through the first half, you're not going to win many games. 4910, that's Julian on our text line, says the reason we suck is because when we play terribly and pull a rabbit out of a hat after a 10-game losing streak, everyone wants to celebrate like we have done something good. It's good to celebrate, right? Like it is good to celebrate a win. You should celebrate every single win. But if you don't improve on the things that went wrong, then you have no chance to improve as an organization, because guess what? You're not going to win a game like that ever again. Ever. That is, you had a 1.8% chance to win that game. And I believe I saw your average win percentage chance was like 12. Like 12%. That's the lowest since 2016, since they started tracking that with like next gen stats. You're not going to win many games like that. You have to fix what's going on under the hood if you're going to actually start winning games consistently. We just talked about it. The Titans have not won back-to-back games in almost 3 years. 3 years. Like, it's crazy. They have not won a game in all back-to-back games in 3 years. Let's hope that they can change that on Sunday against the Raiders. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go back to our phone lines. Our good friend Kenny the mailman is on the line. Kenny, thanks for calling, and thank you for the book. We received it last week, so I need to start reading Next Man Up pretty soon here.
Well, you never know. You're going to get the good things in the mail sometimes.
Well, thank you.
Listen,
I appreciate it.
Sometimes good things happen in football games. I know we have so enjoyed the Music City Miracle through the years, but that was one amazing play. It literally took about 3 miracle plays yesterday for this to happen, because I unofficially chart offenses while I watch it. It keeps my mind in, and it sort of gives me a hint maybe where soft spots are in the defense. With 19 minutes to go, how many yards offense do you think the Titans have?
Like 120?
Yeah, I'd say even less than that, maybe like 85.
99.
99.
They did not crack 100 until just under the 19-minute mark in the game. And it was all random. There was no, you could get some on the left, you could get some on the right, short, deep. It was just little random spots. So for them to pull this out, yeah, we need to celebrate this. But let me ask you this. I have no background in kicking. It's hard to even get an expert to call on kicking. But watching this kicker, most soccer kickers will hook it. He's hitting it so bad. His extra point went almost as far sideways as it did forward, literally. What happens when you miss it that bad right? If y'all know, or if y'all could call somebody. Listen, let me get up there, and boy, I sure enjoy listening on days like this.
Thanks for the call, Kenny. I think Bones Fossil said it was something with his plant leg of like he was stepping out too wide, and that was making him push the ball right. But he did it again, and that's like Joey Sly. Congratulations, you kicked the game-winning kick. They worked out 4 kickers last week. I wouldn't be surprised if they have a new kicker coming up. Like you can't miss the extra point in that spot. That's now 3 really makeable kicks that he's missed in the last 2 weeks. I like Joey Sly. He's a Hokie, and he's hit some big kicks this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're looking elsewhere.
I'm not a kicking aficionado whatsoever, but what I will say is I've been around kickers who have been in slumps before, and you could be the most confident person on planet Earth, but it does start to mess with you a little bit if you get in a slump like that. So I pose the same question to Joey Sly like I do the Titans. How are you going to respond?
Yeah.
But there is a good chance that we do see a new kicker soon.
Well, and the kick for the win didn't look great either. Like if that was from the right hash instead of the left, and I know the Titans set it up because Sly wanted to kick from the left hash. If that was from the right hash, I think he missed it. Like, and not even all that close. But he made it. Titans won the game, 22-21. Titans with their first win since November of last year and a chance to win back-to-back games for the first time in 3 years coming up on Sunday against Vegas. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. I want to give credit to the offensive line because we bashed on them pretty hard early this year that they couldn't protect Cam Ward. I thought they were pretty good yesterday. Maybe even better. I thought they were really good yesterday. Cam Ward did take a couple of sacks, but for the most part, they protected him. They gave him a chance, and I want to give them some credit coming up next. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on a Titans Victory Monday for the first time in 2025. Titans beat the Cardinals 22-21 yesterday in one of the wildest fourth quarters you will ever see. I guess Kyler's first fumble was, or the fumble off the face mask was in the third quarter, but 3 fumbles in the second half, all coming in a way more ridiculous than the one before it. And the Titans are able to take advantage for a 22-21 win. Cam Ward makes a phenomenal throw down the sideline to Calvin Ridley that ends up setting up Joey Sly's field goal. We were just talking about Joey Sly a little bit. It hasn't been good for him over the last couple of weeks. Justin from Greenbrier on our text line says, I don't want to be SpongeBob hater pants, but why on earth did the Titans go for a field goal at the end of the game with Sly being as questionable as he had been? I think it's partially probably has to do with the new kickoff rules of like the way things are set up. You probably don't want to give them a chance to return it. Like, let's say they do score a touchdown. The Cardinals were trying to let them score at the end, I think. Let's say the Titans did score with like 17 seconds on the clock. You don't want to let them return it, so you kick it through the end zone. Well, they're at the 35. They would need like 25 yards to go and get yourself a chance at a field goal. So I think that's probably what it was. The Titans didn't want to give the Cardinals a chance to get the ball back and go kick a field goal for the win. If your kicker can't make a 25-yard field goal in that moment, then he probably shouldn't be your kicker anymore if you don't trust him to make that kick at the end of the game. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. I do want to give credit to the offensive line. And maybe this is where we start to see some of the Bill Callahan effect, because I thought the offensive line against Houston was a lot better. And that is the best that we've seen them in yesterday's game against the Cardinals. Like that was a really good performance by the Titans offensive line. I noticed Dan Moore a couple of times looked pretty good. Now, the 4th and 10 at the end of the first half, which we've talked about already, the decision-making there, whether the Titans should have gone for it. Obviously, the protection was not set up right because Dan Moore let a guy scream off the edge and get to Cam Ward untouched. That's probably not as much on Dan Moore as it was on Cam Ward, not having the protection set right. But overall, I was really pleased with the Titans offensive line. I thought they looked good. They looked solid. Cam Ward had time, and it should only get better if you get J.C. Latham back this week. But Oli Udoh has held his own. I mean, of all of the revolving door of tackles that we've seen play for the Titans over the past 4 years, from Dennis Daly to Andre Dillard to Nicholas Petit-Frere to Jalen Duncan to John Ojukwu, I think Oli Udoh has probably been the best. So I do want to give him credit for that. I am excited to see J.C. Latham back out there because I do think that this 5, when they are out there and play together, I think it's going to be better. But I was excited to see the offensive line look good because that's the first step for Cam Ward is just making things a little bit easier around him. If the offensive line can be good and Calvin Ridley is catching the ball like he did yesterday, that's going to make things a whole lot easier on your rookie quarterback.
Yeah, only sacked 2 times for 16 yards yesterday, which is a lot better conversation than we've been having over the last 4 weeks.
Right.
Now, there were some porous protections at times, but overall, without J.C. Latham, I thought they played about as good as they could have played, considering the injuries that have happened. So, got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, for sure. It wasn't perfect. Like there were still times where there were some quick pressures to Cam Ward, but it's getting better. And it's all you can really ask for right now until you get J.C. Latham back. And hopefully they can take another step if Latham is back this week. They keep saying he's close, but he still hasn't hit the practice field. Maybe Wednesday we will see him back out there for the first time since week 1. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to our phone lines. MC Civil is on the line wanting to talk about Joey Sly. Thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Morning, folks. I think what you can tie Sly's issues back to is Brian's poor management. A few games ago, I forget if that was the Colts game where it was timeout, and then
Yeah, the Colts game.
a delayed field goal. Yeah. So you screw with his head that way. I mean, as big and strong as that dude is, he's in his head now. And I think it stems back from just a lack of confidence from Brian in what he wants to do. Sly's over there not knowing what the hell he's supposed to do. And you think he can just hit 65-yard bombs like he was doing in the first couple of games. And you screw with his head like that, the crowd comes down on him, and he thinks it's all on him when it's really on Brian. So, I mean, honestly, the Cardinals should fire their head coach after what they just did yesterday. We should too. There was nothing good outside of those two passes to Ridley that we did yesterday. I mean, Callahan's just got to go, man. And he's lost too much of the locker room. His poor decision making is not representative of a head coach. He can go somewhere else and be a coordinator, I guess. But I think what's wrong with Sly stems from Brian's poor decision making and his lack of confidence in that decision making.
Yeah, thanks for the call. Joey Sly and Bones Fossil talked about it last week, that they said it was a correctable technique issue from Joey Sly, like a mechanical issue on his kick. I think he said the plant foot was getting too wide, and so he was pushing it. I don't know, but the fact that he didn't correct it in that week does make you wonder if he's going to end up being the kicker for the rest of the year for the Titans. They did work out 4 guys last week, so maybe a move is coming there. Skyler on the text line says it would have been such a Titans thing to do for all that comeback, and Joey Sly missed the game-winning kick. I thought he missed it at first. We need a new kicker ASAP. Yeah, I really thought he was going to miss that one too. But he got it through, and we'll see if he's the kicker coming up this weekend. Merle from Mount Juliet on our text line says, I was excited for the win and had chill bumps. I was so excited for the Titans, but it was ugly, and the Cardinals just flat out gave it away. It was the game that the ball bounced their way for the first time in a long time. If they play like they did the last 5 minutes of the game for the rest of the season, they could possibly get a couple more wins and have something to build on. Love the win, but I still want to see good football at some point. And I think that's a perfect way for Merle to put it. We're not trying to bash on the Titans here. We're also not trying to turn one lucky win into anything more than it is. You got to look at yesterday's game a little bit more analytically than they won the game. Why are we complaining? And you also have to give them credit for winning a game because they haven't done it very much. There is a gray area in there. The Titans, I agree with what Merle said there, is if you can see that offense operating like they did on those final 3 drives, and I know they got lucky with the interception and the fumble, but if you could see that offense operating like they did down the stretch in that game, this is a team that can win some more football games. Not a lot of football games, but this could be a 5-win team this year, a 6-win team like we expected at the beginning of the year. Those expectations fell through the first 4 weeks, but if you can get that offense and get Cam Ward operating like he did down the stretch in that game more consistently, this is a Titans team that can be better than what we've seen through the first month of the year.
Absolutely. And I think, again, going back to what the caller said, that is part of the reason that if I was a player, would have a hard time regaining trust with the coaching staff. Now, I'm not going to put Sly's mistakes on Callahan necessarily. I mean, the kick against the Colts, that was pretty bad, but you got to find a way to get yourself out of a slump, but he's not putting the players in a great position. So
right.
It's kind of, playing devil's advocate here, seeing both sides.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame Sly's issues on Brian Callahan's decision-making. Sly, you missed 2 from 41 and 43 last week, and you miss an extra point this week. You're an NFL kicker. Those are kicks you have to make. If they do keep him around, hopefully it's because they know he can make the mechanical adjustment to get it right. But again, you don't work out 4 kickers last week if you're not having some sort of conversations of making a change there. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We're going to take a quick Titans break because there was a lot that went on in college football this past weekend. Vandy Falls at Alabama. A couple red zone turnovers killed their chances against the Tide. And 2 two pretty big upsets, one a little bit bigger than the other. We'll talk about them coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you. We'll wrap up hour number 2 after this. You're on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Monday morning. Titans get the win yesterday, 22-21. Unbelievable game. Cardinals handed it to the Titans, but the Titans took it and ran away, and they won 22-21. A couple of big plays from Cam Ward down the stretch. We'll get back into the Titans in just a couple of minutes. But there were some big college football games this weekend. Vanderbilt going down to Alabama. We can start there. The Commodores looking to get to 6-0, put themselves right in the thick of the playoff discussion, and they go up 7-0. They're driving in the red zone, and Diego Pavia fumbles on a third down. Could have kicked the field goal to make it 10-0. And from then on out, Alabama kind of controlled that game. Vandy got the ball back down by 6 later in the game with a chance to go up, and then Pavia threw another interception in the red zone. Overall, Vandy did not play all that well in this game. And it's tough because they got the big rushing touchdown from Cedric Alexander early in that game. And then it's like they went away from running the football, at least with the running backs. I want to say maybe just 6 carries for their running backs in that game. Does that sound right, Parker?
One more time, what was that?
Did they only have, here we go, I got the box score up now. So Cedric Alexander had the 65-yard touchdown. He only had 3 carries other than that. MK Young had 1 carry. AJ Newberry had 1 carry. Like,
yeah,
you gotta establish the run a little bit. And I understand like game plan or game situation plays into that too. But you had a 68-yard run that set you up 7-0. And then you just kind of went away from running the football. Feels like that's a missed opportunity for Tim Beck, who has been so good as the offensive coordinator since arriving in Nashville. And of course, the red zone turnovers kill you, right? Like you took at least 6 points off the board. Bama scored the touchdown with what? A minute left, the garbage time one to make it 30-14.
Yeah.
But it was a 9-point game before that. You get field goals at the very least out of those drives, and you're right in that thing to the very end. I think in some ways, obviously, it's a disappointing loss for Vandy, but maybe also encouraging that, like, hey, we didn't play our best game, and we were still in it into the fourth quarter with a good Alabama team on the road. And, obviously, Vandy, with what we've seen from them, they're in no place to take moral victories, and they didn't play well enough, and that's a loss that they're going to want back. But overall, maybe you can take something from that, like, hey, we shot ourselves in the foot a couple of times, and Bama, outside of that last touchdown run when the game was already kind of decided, we were only down by 9, and for the most part of the game, we were down by 6. They had their chances. They just couldn't take advantage of them.
I come away from this game realizing how good of a win this was for Alabama and how much a lot of people overreacted after the Florida State game. Yeah, it was not good for Bama, but what have they done since then? They've looked they look like a contender. And Kalen DeBoer, a lot of that hot seat talk has calmed down significantly. But if you're Vanderbilt, I don't leave this game feeling too different about how I already felt about Vanderbilt entering this game. I still feel like they could contend for a playoff spot. If you look at their schedule, teams like LSU and Texas, how have they looked recently?
Right.
Vanderbilt can absolutely beat those teams, and they were in a puncher's chance in the fourth quarter against Alabama in their building. Now, did those turnovers cost the game? Sure, and they were really bad. But Vanderbilt can still contend for a playoff spot.
Right. You look at this, I think there's good that you can take from it from Vandy of like, hey, it's not like we just got outclassed in that game. Like, we were in it. They went up 14-7. It was really tough to give up that touchdown at the end to Jeremy Bernard at the end of the first half because, like, you had that lead 14-7 and felt like maybe you head into the locker room with the lead and you got a good shot here, and then you give up that touchdown at the end. Do want to say, like, Ty Simpson, I was part of the group that was like, man, why is this guy the starting quarterback after the Florida State game? Because he looked lost. He looked rattled, but man, has he been good. Ty Simpson has been awesome and want to give him credit. Diego Pavia wasn't good enough on Saturday. And I thought that a win in that game puts him in the Heisman conversation. And he obviously did not show up and make the plays that they needed to get Vanderbilt that win. But overall, I'm with you, Parker. Like, that loss doesn't take Vanderbilt out of the playoff conversation. Now, it does make things harder. You've got to win some really tough games down the stretch. But you're right. Like, what the LSU game and the Texas game look like in the preseason, maybe it doesn't look like that as much anymore. And we'll talk more about Texas coming up in a second. Let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Dustin from Hopkinsville is on the line. Dustin, thanks for calling. Good morning. What you got for us?
Morning, guys. It was a tough loss down there at Alabama, and I feel the same way you guys. I haven't been listening this morning. I've been really busy, but I wanted to call in and say, I feel like, in my opinion, I love Clark Lee. I think he's a great coach, but I feel like he lost Vanderbilt that game. The call for the sweep when you need a yard or two, I can't remember if that was 4th and 1 or 2 or 3rd, but that was terrible, man. Like, they planned for Diego Pavia in the run game. It was obvious. They said, okay, we dare you to throw it. However, you run that dude right up the middle. Like, you play like a dog. You run up the middle. I feel like you play that game again. You play it 10 times, both teams win 5 times. You know what I'm saying? And Ryan Williams showed up. This is the Alabama. I believe this is the Alabama that we're going to get used to seeing. I don't think they're Nick Saban type, but they're not going to be far from it. It's not going to be some dynasty like Nick Saban had, but it took a year for this coach to gel, with this whole team. You get new players every year, but I believe he's a pretty good coach. And like I said, I really think that Clark Lee, he got in his own way. He got away from his own ways and got in his way doing that. Like, Stop. Don't change the game up. Go in there with the same game plan, the winning pedigree game plan that you do every Saturday. And go Titans. But what a talentless, just crazy, awful win. Congratulations. Don't want to take anything to Cam Ward. The dude threw the ball. He made a mistake, tucking it, deciding to run, and then he decided to throw with the defender, 10 feet from him. I'm like, dude, they got so lucky. Everything went their way, from the injury, changing the momentum, to the guy dropping the ball at the end zone. Like, I'm sitting there painting my living room, and I can't stop watching. But, dude, what did we say? We said, get these rookies the ball. Yes, Gunnar Helm dropped that one. But, dude, he caught that next one, and this is what I was talking about. We got some things to look forward to. I can see it. I can see it in the new stadium. I can see us. Gunnar Helm's going to be a star. He's a big dude. He can catch the ball. He dropped the one, but I just want to talk a little bit. I had time, so I called in. Y'all have a good one, man.
Thanks for the call, Dustin. Yeah, no, I think that's what you should take from yesterday's game. The Titans won, which, again, you don't apologize for the way you win games, but they had no business winning that game. They did. And the young guys were the reason they did it. It was Cam Ward. It was Gunnar Helm. Chim Dike had a big return in that game. Like, you got some of the future pieces to make plays for you to win that football game. So I agree. Be excited, Titans fans, but also understand that, like, again, you play that game 1,000 times. I think you lose 999 of them from the point that it was 21-6. 615-737-1025. Also, agree with Dustin's points on Vanderbilt that, like, they had their chances to win that game. Some bad decisions here, some poor execution there was the difference that allowed Alabama to get that win. Quality win for Alabama, and Kalen DeBoer, again, has cooled his hot seat a good amount. Clark Lee and this Vandy team, we saw last year, they lost that game to Missouri on the road in double overtime. They had the bye week. They came back. They beat Alabama at home the next week. They've got the bye week this week, a chance to regroup. You've already played half your games this season. What can they do when LSU comes to town in just under 2 weeks? The 18th, LSU will be here for Vandy's next game. That is going to be a big one if Vandy wants to keep their playoff hopes alive. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will talk more Titans in the final hour, but we have to talk about Penn State, right? And Texas. We'll do that. We'll do that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Final hour on this Monday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly BI membership with a buzz is always about great service. It is a victory Monday for the Tennessee Titans for the first time this season, 22-21 over the Arizona Cardinals. No matter how weird it happened, it counts as one win on the record book. So the Titans no longer winless. They will look for back-to-back wins coming up on Sunday against the Las Vegas Raiders. We will talk more Titans coming up in just a second, but we did want to step off to college football a little bit further because Penn State and Texas, what happened on Saturday? I mean, I was pretty locked in on the Vanderbilt game during that Penn State game, but just kept checking the score and thinking like, man, UCLA maybe is the worst power conference team in the country. Like, eventually Penn State's going to figure it out and win the game, but they did not. And James Franklin, the big question is always, can he win the big one? Well, he lost the big one on Saturday. And is it fair to say that probably does it for Penn State's playoff chances? Like,
I mean, if they win out, they still have Ohio State. If they win out, and
right?
are 10-2
Okay, yeah.
Penn State,
If you beat Ohio State, then yeah. But that if you lose to Ohio State, it's over. Like, you're not getting in at 9-3 with that loss on your resume to UCLA. And is that Ohio State game in the shoe? I think it is.
Hold on.
Like,
yes, it is, because it was in Happy Valley last year.
Right. So Penn State, yes, I guess technically you are still in it. Like, you can win out and you could make the playoffs, but you do have to play at Ohio State. You get Indiana in Happy Valley. None of the rest of your games are all that tough. But it's not looking good for James Franklin. I will say I did pick Penn State to miss the playoffs at the beginning of the year. I did. I put that out there
right about now.
I didn't pick them to lose this way. I thought it was going to be, they lose 3 games to some good teams and they're on the outside looking in. But man, losing to UCLA, who's already fired their coach, and that's horrible. I could not believe that was happening on Saturday. But UCLA gets the win. Penn State falls. They've now lost back-to-back games. And Texas, I think there was always kind of a feeling with Texas that it's like, all right, well, they were the number 1 team in the preseason for a reason. They're going to figure it out. They've got all this talent. But, I mean, to lose to Florida like that, and I get it, the Florida defense is good. They have a good defense down there in Gainesville. But you give up 29 points. Arch Manning throws 2 picks again. Texas, their schedule isn't so hard that they can't win out, but it's going to be a tough road. I mean, who would have thought at the beginning of the year, Texas and Penn State, they were the top 2 teams in the preseason coaches poll, the AP poll, actually. The coaches poll out Ohio State, number 2. So you had the top 2 teams in the preseason AP poll, and both may not make the playoffs at all. Both probably have to win out. Texas, they got Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry coming up this weekend. And then, you got Georgia and Athens later on. You got A&M at home. The other games, Vandy comes to town. That's not going to be super easy. They have to win out. And it's crazy to think that come December, the top 2 teams in the preseason AP poll may not be around.
Which game do you want to start on first?
Where were you most shocked? I mean, it has to be Penn State UCLA, right?
I mean, I guess we'll start with that one. For me, this is a classic Penn State. That one of the praises about Penn State was they did not win the games that they were not supposed to win, but the games they were favored in, they always won.
Right.
Well, they were favored against Oregon and they lost. They were favored against UCLA big and they lost. So this is the first time since 2021 Penn State has lost consecutive games. Yeah, this is tough. This is tough because you returned 78% of last year's team. You had built up to this point for 4 years. You have a workable schedule. It's all right in front of you, and you lose in the fashion that they do. It's just unacceptable.
Yeah, it's horrible. You cannot lose to that UCLA team who there was talk about whether UCLA would win any game this year, let alone beating a top 10 Penn State team. Like that, it can't happen. And James Franklin, I don't think he's on the hot seat. Like they're going to give him a leash because he does have them in the conversation, right? They were in the college football playoff semifinals last year. But I think a loss like that is a big wake-up call because typically it's like, all right, well, James Franklin, yeah, he's going to lose to Ohio State. He might lose to Oregon, but we're going to be 10-2 at the end of the year, and we're going to be playing in the college football playoff. But you can't lose to UCLA, who is the worst team in power conference football this year. You cannot do it.
Especially when you still have Ohio State on your schedule, you know that those two games are going to be tough. And if you lose those games, yeah, you're 10-2, but you're still in contention for a Big Ten championship, right, and you still have everything out in front of you. And you could be in a similar situation to last year where you made it all the way to the semifinals. But losing to UCLA, that puts a huge dent in your plans. And now you still have to go play Ohio State. And guess what? It's in the shoe. Yep. You don't get them at home.
And then you get Indiana at home the week after. Like it is not going to be easy for Penn State to make the playoffs. Not going to be easy for Texas to make the playoffs. And I don't know if anyone would have thought that we'd be saying that this early in the year, right? Like, I think towards the end of the year, some fluky stuff happens and you're like, oh man, they just missed out. But to be talking about Texas and Penn State both having to run the table just to make the playoffs, crazy. And this has been a wild season of college football so far. This weekend, we got some more big games. I mean, Texas and Oklahoma, that's an elimination game for Texas. Like you gotta go win that game against an Oklahoma team that, doesn't have John Mateer, but still a very talented team. And then you got Indiana, Oregon getting game day this week. How about it? Usually,
and a classic Big Ten matchup.
Usually, it feels like the Texas State Fair is always a shoe-in for game day. They go there almost every year for Red River Rivalry, but this year they're going up to Eugene for Indiana, Oregon. I love it. Should be a fun one. Top 10 matchup.
Yeah, and for Texas, I wasn't the only one that said that. I know there were others that said this as well. But before the season, we talked about how there was a world in which Texas could have 3 losses before Halloween. Well, they already have 2, and now they have Red River next week. And just saying, the way Texas has played recently, even with Arch, I mean, this was probably Arch's best game, and it still wasn't good enough.
Right.
You consider how good Oklahoma's defense is, specifically the defensive line. Who's not to say that Texas will be 3-3 after this week?
You worry about it spiraling quickly for Texas as they went from a possible national championship contender to now just trying to scrape by and see if they can make the playoffs with a run down the stretch. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Crazy weekend of college football. 4308 says Penn State losing is a product of the Big Ten's greed and having teams on opposite sides of the country in their conference. It's nothing about the athletes. That's fair. That's fair. Tim and Spring Hill sending that in. Like, previously you didn't have to play a Big Ten game all the way across the country.
4 time zones away.
Not saying that that's the reason they lost, but I'm sure that it didn't help.
I think there is a little bit of truth to that, but I mean, Washington just won at Maryland, so
right,
that kind of debunks that, at least for this weekend. But there is a little bit of truth to that. Oregon won at Penn State.
Right. No, I mean, there's parts of that are true, but obviously that's not the whole reason. You got to show up and you got to win the game. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Time to get back to the Titans here. Titans got a win. It is a victory Monday. We will talk more about how the Titans got it done and whether this could spark a run as they head to Las Vegas this upcoming weekend. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Monday morning. It's Next Man Up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025, The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on a Titans Victory Monday. Titans somehow, some way got a win in Arizona yesterday, 22-21. It took, again, each fumble got more ridiculous than the next. Kyler Murray takes an early snap off his face mask. Titans able to recover as the Cardinals were in field goal range. Then Imani DeMarcado drops the ball before he gets over the end zone, takes 7 points off the board for the Cardinals. Titans end up scoring a couple of plays later after Cam Ward makes a few nice throws down the field. Then Cam Ward throws a pick down in the red zone. Should have been the backbreaker that ended the game, but the DB fumbles it. It ends up bouncing into the end zone. Tyler Lockett recovers, and they score a touchdown to make it a 2-point game. The Titans would score just a few minutes later on a Joey Sly field goal to win it 22-21. I said earlier that if these two teams played 1,000 times from 21-6, that the Titans win once, and was told I did bad math. Ricky on the YouTube chat said it would have been 850 times out of 1,000. I was just, that was just hyperbole for me. I was just exaggerating. If you want the actual answer, the Titans at one point had a 1.8% chance to win. So that means they would have won 18 out of 1,000.
So this isn't the Doctor Strange situation.
Right. It's not one, I guess. It would be 982 out of 1,000 that they would lose if you want me to do the actual math. But the question is this a fluke, or is this a step in the right direction that they can build off of, right? And that's why I think this week is a huge turning point for this Titans team, because they have not played well at all, really, in any of their games. Now, have they been in some games? Sure. Broncos game, they were in it to the very end. Rams and Texans games, they were in it heading into the fourth quarter. They came back. They got a win yesterday. This is an important week, because it will show whether this team just needed to get that confidence and can build off of it, or was it just a fluke because the Cardinals gave it away to them? And I think that's what we're going to find out this week. Does this Titans team have the talent, have the wherewithal to go out and win another game against a team that's not very good in Las Vegas on Sunday? And I think a lot of it falls on the quarterback. Like Cam Ward, we went through his stats through 6 quarters of the Texans game and the first half of the Cardinals game. It was like 15 for 42 for 190 yards in that span. Maybe not even that, 160 yards. So it wasn't good. But then he came out and he made a ton of plays. Those 2 balls to Calvin Ridley really couldn't have been thrown any better. The Gunnar Helm one, with pressure in his face, he muscled that ball and dropped it in the bucket to his tight end. Like, he made some plays and won that game for you yesterday. Can he start to do that on a more consistent basis? Can he go out and move the football consistently? Because those might have been the 3 best drives we've seen from the Titans all year long, all in consecutive fashion. Can he do that for a full game? And I'm not 100% sure that we're going to see the growth and people building and this team building off of it. But this is an opportunity to go win back-to-back games again for the first time in 3 years. They got to go do it. And they got to prove that what we saw yesterday is actual progress from this team and not just a flash in the pan fluke because the Cardinals fumbled the ball 3 times. 3337 says 100% chance they won. That's very true. Yes, you either win or you lose the game. 100% chance. Yes, they did win the game. But I'm saying that is not a sustainable way to win football games. They have to be able to play a full 60 minutes because in the future, other teams aren't going to just hand you the game like the Cardinals did yesterday. And we asked the question earlier of like, if DeMarcado takes that into the end zone and it's 28-6 and the Titans kind of just go away with a whimper, does Brian Callahan keep his job today? Like, I think that's a legitimate question of whether Brian Callahan is the head coach of the Tennessee Titans today if they lose that game the way it looked like they were going to lose that game. But guess what? We don't have to have that conversation because they came back and they won. You got to do it again. And Brian Callahan's job is not safe by any means, but he got the win. And if he can go build on it and prove he's got this team heading in the right direction, maybe you start to see the progress and see him get that seat that has been boiling hot all season long cool down a little bit. Jeremy in Clarksville, I like this one on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, yes, the Titans got a W. It was like hunting deer for 10 years with no result. Then one day a deer ran in front of your truck. You got a deer. And that, I think that's a perfect way to put it. You got to be happy that you got the deer, be happy that you got the win, but you can't go out and play the way that you did yesterday and expect to win other games, right? Like if you go down 21-6 against pretty much any other team in any other situation across the league heading into the fourth quarter, you're not going to win that football game for the most part. You got lucky. You used that luck and you took advantage of it. Can the Titans build off of it? Can Cam Ward build off of it and start to be a more consistently good quarterback? And can they go win a game in Las Vegas on Sunday? This is a huge week. Huge week. And I don't mean huge week in terms of like, can this team make a run to the playoffs? They're not that good. Like, they are not going to be a playoff team. But if you want to see this team is trending in the right direction and making the plays necessary to actually win football games, this is a huge week to go out and beat a team that just got beat 40-6 by your division rival yesterday. Like, Vegas isn't that good. You can win this game. Go and play like you did in the last 10 minutes of that game yesterday. And, you know, you don't have to play all 60 minutes like that. Like, that'd be great. But do it on a more consistent basis, and you have a chance to actually win some football games. Larkin on our YouTube chat says, honest question, let's say Callahan brings the team to a 9-8 or 8-9 season. Middle of the pack ending, middle of the pack draft pick, but a 9-4, 8-5 finish this season. Does Callahan keep his job? Yes. If Brian Callahan finds a way to pull 8 wins out of this team, yes, he keeps his job. 100%. It's not going to happen, though. I think in order to have any chance to keep his job, they got to find a way to 6 wins. And you're already in a 1-4 hole. So that means what? Quick math. You got to go 5-6 down the stretch. Does that sound right? 5-7. You got to go 5-7 down the stretch, which honestly, saying it out loud doesn't make me think that saves his job. But I think if you can get to 6 wins, you can at least have the conversation that Brian Callahan is trending this team in the right direction. But 5-7 the rest of the way, yes, it's way better than what we've seen. But is that enough to instill confidence that he can be your head coach moving forward? I'm not so sure about that. But they got to win, and we'll see what they can do this week with it. You know, momentum can be an important thing for this team. And, you know, just seeing that you've been able to win a football game, right? Like, proving it to yourself is kind of a big deal, right? Like, being able to prove like, hey, we've been close in these games and haven't been able to finish. You went out and finished that game and won it. Maybe that's something that can spark this team to a win this week against Vegas.
Who was the guy that broke the, oh my gosh, sorry. Who was the guy that broke the 4-minute mile?
Oh, I have no idea.
Back in the day.
I have no idea.
There was some guy that broke a 4-minute mile, and it used to believe that you could never break a 4-minute mile. And then he broke it, and then all these other people started breaking it. Sometimes all you just got to do is see it happen. And it's like, you know, if you're to use a basketball term, like if you're in a shooting slump and you see one go through the net, sometimes that's all you need to break out of it.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And that's kind of what we've been saying of like, we're not going to pick the Titans to win a football game until they actually win a football game. And now they've done it. They won a football game. And we're getting both sides of the fan base saying either we're being too positive or being too negative this morning. Like the Titans, it is fair to say, more than fair to say, that they did not play a good football game yesterday. The entirety of that game, like if you're looking to grade the Titans' performance from yesterday, is probably a C-. And that's brought up by a ton by the last 10 minutes of that game.
That's so fair because they played, you know, what, a good quarter of football?
Right. Like, I'm not going to sit here and celebrate like they just put themselves in first place in the division because they played a C- game, but the Falcons didn't even complete the assignment in the fourth quarter and got a 0. Like, yes, it's a win. And I think if this win can be that, you know, like we talked about, like seeing the ball go through the net, then it's important because now Cam Ward has proven that he can go win you a football game, and he did it. Now let's do it again. Like that's the big thing here is like, Yeah, it's great to win a football game, but does it make you happier if you're 1-16 versus 0-17? Yeah, maybe a little bit. At least you know you're not going to be part of history. You got to go and prove that this is progress and not just a fluke, because a lot of things had to go right for you to win that football game yesterday. Go win a game where the other team didn't hand it to you. Like, let's go see that on Sunday. And I think if the offense plays like they did down the stretch, they could go beat the Raiders. They could do it pretty handily. Like, not saying by 30 like the Colts did yesterday, but you could go beat the Raiders 28-17 next week if your offense plays the way it did down the stretch. Let's see if they can go do it.
I think this does kind of show that they have learned from previous mistakes, because the Broncos tried to hand the Titans the game and they didn't win it. The Cardinals tried to hand the Titans the game and they capitalized. But if you're still skeptical that this team isn't going to build off of this and in previous weeks or upcoming weeks, you have every right to believe that, just based on what we've seen on the field from the Tennessee Titans. But it's kind of like you just got to go out and do it. You know, talking only gets you so far.
Yep. And I think it's an important win for the morale in that locker room to get one under their belt. And this is an important week. You're facing a team that, again, they were 1-4 too, just like you, and they just got blown out last week. Can you go take advantage of this momentum and get a win? And then you come back home and you face a Patriots team that they're the talk of the town right now after beating the Bills last night. Like, everybody's giving Vrabel props. Drake May's getting put in MVP conversations. Like, they have to come here in a game that you know there's going to be a lot of emotions from everybody, the fan base. A lot of these players still played for Mike Vrabel when he was here. Not a majority of them, but some of them. And obviously ownership. Like, that's a big game for Brian Callahan in this team. If you can win this week and come back here with some momentum, who knows what could happen. I don't think this team ends up being anywhere close to a 500 team, but you got to see progress. And maybe this is finally, after trending downwards for 4.5 weeks, you finally have flipped it going back in the other direction.
Maybe it is that simple. It was that simple for Cam Ward. I mean, he turned it on there in that 2-minute drill. I'm like, oh my gosh, where has this been? And where's the offense been?
Right.
Like this. Why couldn't you do this for even 2 quarters of the game yesterday? Why is it just you wait until the very end? But gotta celebrate the wins.
Right.
Gotta celebrate the wins.
And hey, credit to Calvin Ridley too. We haven't talked enough about him. He's been one of the main public enemy number 1. Number 2, we'll say Callahan's been number 1, obviously. But Ridley's been getting a whole lot of flack from people for what he's done over the first 4 weeks of the year. And rightfully so. Like, he was not good. He's expected to be the wide receiver 1. He made a couple of big plays in yesterday's game. And that's what the Titans need from him moving forward. You need that guy to be a go-to for Cam Ward. We saw it last year that once he got going a little bit, he got more consistent. Can he do it again? Maybe yesterday is the spark for him. Wes in Clarksville on our text line says, I still don't think Callie gets it. I'm going to be upset if he gets us 4 or 5 wins, gets fired, and costs us the number 1 pick because he started getting lucky. I mean, I have not changed my opinion that Brian Callahan is not going to be the head coach in 2026.
Well, and it's going to be hard to get lucky 4 or 5 times,
right,
especially in the NFL. Like, that doesn't happen that much.
If they start winning games, it's not going to be because the team just gave it to him. Like yesterday, right? Like, that's not going to happen every week, but we'll see what he can do. Now that you've gotten that win, like, there's been all the talk of like, we just need to win a game. Prove that can be a catalyst for your team this year, and it's not just a flash in the pan. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have thoughts, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will get to your phones. And also, we will talk about Jeffrey Simmons, because he was a disruptor once again yesterday. Simmons continues to be the best player on this Titans roster, and I really don't think it's all that close. We'll talk about Jeffrey Simmons coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. That was Brian Callahan after the game yesterday, talking about his defense, the way they fought after a really tough start to that game. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. with a catch that isn't going to be remembered, but what a ridiculous catch on that first drive. Got them just shy of the end zone. They ended up scoring, went down, scored again quickly, got to 14 points. Tony Pollard's fumble in the second quarter ended up making it 21-6, and the Titans looked like they were dead and buried at that point, and did really until the end of the game. But the defense really stepped up. I thought they made some big plays. L'Jarius Sneed, he didn't touch the ball on that fumble from DeMarcado running into the end zone. Like, it's not like L'Jarius Sneed went and peanut punched that thing out of the back of the end zone. But I did like the hustle, because L'Jarius Sneed, we've seen him just make some mental errors. Last week, the 2nd and 33. Why are you pressing Nico Collins? And, Denard Wilson said he was kind of doing his own thing on that play. To see him try and chase that down, and I don't know if he impacted it at all, but it was good to see the effort. And, man, Jeffrey Simmons, that dude is a baller. I mean, I got to give him a lot of credit. There was a lot of talk about him at the beginning of the year of like, man, is he going to become this all-pro level player that we expected him to be after that 2021 season? Like, when he got those 3 sacks on Joe Burrow in the playoff game, I think the expectation that he is going to be one of the best interior linemen in the NFL for the next 5 years. And it just it hadn't been that good. Like, he was a fine player, but he wasn't disruptive over the last couple of seasons. And so far this year, I believe Brian Callahan said it in his post-game presser yesterday, that he's playing at a defensive player of the year type caliber. I don't know if it's that good, but it's definitely all pro level. Like, if you watch him play,
100%.
he is in the backfield on almost every single play. He is making plays for this team. And we had texters last week saying he's not playing that well. Watch the film. I'm watching every single game. And the one guy on that defense who I notice consistently is Big 98 in the middle. So got to give him credit. He had another sack and a half yesterday. He impacted the game all day long. Got to give credit to Jeffrey Simmons. And it's not just his play on the field. We questioned his maturity a lot too. And there was the scuffle with Cam Ward in the preseason. And, last year he started the fight in training camp Callahan didn't throw him out. I think what we've heard from Jeffrey Simmons has been more mature as well. Like last week, saying that he talked to Cam Ward about the "we asked" comments, which, I think there's good and bad from that. But it does seem like Jeffrey Simmons has taken on more of a leadership role. He's become a better leader, and he's playing better on the field. So you got to give him his flowers. He has far and away been the Titans' best player. And the Titans were losing yesterday. I saw Robbie Stanley tweeted out, is there a bigger gap in the NFL between a team's first and second best player with Jeffrey Simmons and whoever the second best player is on the Titans? And he might be right, because Simmons is far and away the Titans' best player.
Yeah, Big Jeff is looking elite. And there was a point yesterday in the game, and I know Chase mentioned this last week on a show with Big Joe. I actually felt sorry for Big Jeff when I think this was after halftime, but I'm like, this dude went out, he lost 20 pounds. He's doing everything that he can to help this team win. And it's paid off. It really has. And yet they still can't get it right. But then the tide turns, obviously, when the Titans end up winning the game. But man, like, he is. I watch the defense too, and he is the player that I consistently notice every single time. He is just swarming around the football every single play.
Yeah, I mean, you notice, I think Cedric Gray has had some good moments. I thought the edge rushers were better yesterday. They at least helped a little bit with Jeffrey Simmons, but he is really the only guy that you look at and you watch the Titans defense play and say, that guy is a problem. And it's good to see, you're right, that he has been impacting these games on a consistent basis, and the rest of the team didn't help him out. It was good to see the offense pick him up, because he really has been playing good football. I will say, though, last week I was on – I still am not anti-trading Jeffrey Simmons. Like, I get it. What message does that send to the locker room? And TD did kind of swayed my opinion a little bit with his thoughts on a Jeffrey Simmons trade. But if you don't start to see the progress, like you won this game yesterday, can you go and build on it? And you've got a month until the trade deadline. Can you go and build on it over this next month to the point where you're like, all right, well, maybe this team is closer than we thought they were. They're still not a playoff contender. No, nowhere close. But maybe this team is closer in the rebuilding process than we thought through the first 4 weeks. Then I understand you don't trade him. But if this looks more like a fluke, a flash in the pan, you lose to the Raiders, you lose to the Patriots, you lose to the Colts again, I still would not 100% be against it because I don't know if his trade value is ever going to be higher than it is right now. The way he's playing, I think you could go get premium draft capital for Jeffrey Simmons at the trade deadline. And again, it's one of those situations where he's under contract for the next 2 years. You have all the leverage. You don't have to give him away. But I think if the team is, 1-6, 1-7, when you get close to the trade deadline, I still wouldn't hate it if you set a price and somebody was willing to meet it.
Yeah, and obviously the tough part about this conversation is Robbie's right. Like Jeff Simmons is the only elite level player on this team, and to give him up would be tough, but you also bring up a good point. His trade value is probably never going to be higher, especially with the way that he's playing right now. And other executives, other scouts around the league consider Jeffrey Simmons to be a top 5 player at his position. So if you're able to turn that and get some draft capital out of it, get some picks in return, which is what this front office has been talking about, draft, develop, retain, there's no better way to do that than if you trade an elite level player.
Yeah, I mean, the question is like, do you think this team is one offseason away? Because if you get past this next year, you're going to have to extend Jeffrey Simmons, or maybe he wants out at that point. Do you think you can fix this team's problems and get back to being maybe not a division winner, but a playoff contender next year? There are a lot of holes on this team. I'm not 100% sure that they can turn this around in one offseason, but you do have $125 million in cap space, and you hope that you're in a position to maybe trade back out of your high first-round pick. So there's a lot for Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker and that whole front office staff to work through over the next couple of weeks. I think a lot of it just depends on what the team does on the field. If the team is able to win a couple games over the next month, I think it wouldn't send the right message when the team is starting to show progress to trade away their best player. But obviously, if you play more like you did in the first 3 quarters yesterday than the last quarter for the next month, then I could see it happening. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Titans do get the win yesterday, 22-21. They are 1-4 on the year. One of the wildest games you'll ever see, but the Titans pulled it out. And again, they don't show pictures in the standings. You have a win on your record, which was not the case before yesterday's game. 615-737-1025. One final segment for us. Last call for phones. We'll get you off to Chase and Big Joe. Coming right back. You're on Next Man Up, 1025 The Game. Final segment on this Victory Monday for the Tennessee Titans. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you. Titans got the win in one of the strangest games that you will ever see. I just rewatched all of the crazy stuff the Cardinals did down the stretch. Somebody made a TikTok of 5 plus 2 honorable mentions of all the things that had to go right for the Titans to win that game. But again, you don't ask how you get the wins. They ask how many wins. And the Titans do have one after the victory yesterday, 22-21 over the Arizona Cardinals. And again, it took a whole lot for the Titans to even get in any kind of position to win that game, right? Like it took them getting some of the craziest fumbles you'll ever see. The Cardinals didn't try and throw the football on their last drive at all and let the Titans get the ball back. But as I said at the beginning of the show, let's give credit to Cam Ward for making some big time throws down the stretch. And the next step for Cam Ward, obviously, is being more consistent. I've been saying it since the Rams game. He has to do the normal quarterback things at a high level. It's great to be able to make the hero ball plays because a lot of the great quarterbacks in this league do that stuff. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, all those guys have the ability to make the crazy play when you need a crazy play. But the reason that they're good and they're in the playoffs and they're in AFC championships every year is because they can make the regular plays on a consistent basis. And we did see that down the stretch from Cam Ward. Like the throws that are getting all of the headlines are the 2 to Ridley and the 1 to Helm. And those were great throws. But you also saw him take what the defense was giving to him, especially on that final drive of the game. Couple of dump offs to Tony Pollard where he could get out of bounds, stop the clock. He found Gunnar Helmet the sticks for a first down on a third down. He found Chigakonkwo over the middle with room to run and got them up to midfield. Like that's what you need from him. And you hope that after doing it for just one quarter in Arizona, that he can do those things for a longer period of time coming up this weekend in Las Vegas. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Danny in Clarksville is on the line. Danny, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Hi, how's it going? Yeah, I just wanted to say I definitely agree. I think that they definitely need to learn how to capitalize on mistakes because I don't think the teams that they're going to be coming up against for the rest of the year are going to be making as many as Arizona did this game. So they definitely need to learn to capitalize more on the stuff that's given to them. Otherwise, this will probably be their only game, maybe another few that they win. I don't know if I missed the college segment or not, but I just wanted to say I think I'm finally happy that this whole Heisman Trophy for Vanderbilt thing is kind of out the window because I feel like that was the only thing that people were ever talking about for Vanderbilt, and they got pretty embarrassed. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Danny. I mean, it was obviously a bad performance for Vanderbilt on Saturday, and Diego Pavia, the 2 red zone turnovers were a big reason why they lost. But I mean, Vandy they got 6 more games in front of them, and if they can go beat LSU next week, they put themselves right back in the thick of the playoff race. You know, easier said than done. LSU's a really good team, but they've struggled offensively this year. We'll see what happens. Vandy's got the bye week this week to kind of regroup after that tough loss down in Alabama. Skylar asks, how much of his footwork being all over the place is causing issues with the short consecutive throws? And I think that's a good point, that the footwork not being consistent may be why the ball placement has been a little bit all over the place. You look back at the interception last week against the Texans, trying to make that throw on the run. Ball gets tipped by Alec Iamaner right into the hands of Derek Stingley. We saw it even as the Titans were making their comeback yesterday. He tried to do a little bit too much on that play down deep in the red zone. Yeah, it was kind of an unlucky tip the way it went up, but you put the ball in danger by making that throw. Ended up being intercepted. It goes into the end zone and Tyler Lockett recovers it for a touchdown. But those are the things that maybe you look at as a concern for Cam Ward, of just can't get his feet straight. And that's leading to some of these deflected balls and inconsistent ball placement, which we saw a couple of times on third down yesterday.
I think we're seeing it with not just Cam, but quarterbacks across the league. When their feet start to get sped up and the rhythm gets all kind of out of whack, that's when you start missing throws left and right. That's when you start missing throws high, and tips and overthrows are a quarterback's worst nightmare. So it all starts from the ground up. If you're a quarterback, if your feet are right, you have your proper base, then more than likely the ball is going to end up where you intended it to go.
Yeah, and we saw Cam Ward a little bit inconsistent early on in the game, a lot bit inconsistent. Two shots to Chimdike down the field, and Cam Ward overthrew both of them. I think it was the first one. If anybody goes back and watches the broadcast, you can see Cam Ward getting the play call from Bo Hardegree, and he smiles a little bit. Like you saw the little smirk on his face as he went to go call the play. And I said to my fiance, I was like, this is going to be a deep ball. Because Cam Ward, you could just see on his face that he's been waiting to run this play, and he missed the throw. But I like the game plan from Bo Hardegree better in this game. And if Cam Ward can be consistent and get into that flow state that we saw late in the game, this is a team that can win more games. Not a lot of games, but they can win more games, including on Sunday against Las Vegas. Again, the Raiders got beat 40-6 on Sunday. Jackson on our text line says, no chance Titans beat the Raiders. You're telling me Callahan is going to outcoach Pete Carroll? Don't think so. I mean, if it's all about coaching, did Shane Steichen outcoach Pete Carroll yesterday? Like, the players on the field matter too. And the Raiders
coaching does matter, but so do the players.
Right. It's like if the Titans execute, they have a chance to go beat the Raiders. The Raiders are 1-4 for a reason. So,
and Geno Smith leads the league in interceptions.
Right.
Once again.
And again, this is a huge game for the Titans in terms of just the overall growth of this team. Can you prove that you can go out, build off the momentum from a win, and get back-to-back wins? It's been 3 years. Go win consecutive games for the first time since November of 2022. This is a golden opportunity to go get a win, keep those good feelings going, coming back home. This team's not going to be in the playoff hunt. You're probably not winning more than 5 or 6 games, but can you show progress? You got to win. It was given to you. Go take a win on Sunday against Las Vegas. That does it for us here on this Monday. We'll have plenty more Titans reaction tomorrow. Nick Frazier going to join for Tony Tuesdays here on Next Man Up. We'll talk plenty of Titans, plenty of college football, and much more. Chase and Big Joe coming up next with their reactions to the Titans win yesterday in Arizona. Keep it right here on 102.5 The Game.